Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're giving you the first half of our Week 11 fantasy football starts and sits. We're here to help you make all the right decisions on who should be in your lineup, who needs to sit, and who's going to break your heart if you don't make the right decision. Let's start this fantasy football podcast right meow.
Hit that drop. Hey everyone, I am Justin, that is Kyle, and this is the Fantasy Football Upside. Thanks for dropping by our Fantasy Football podcast and YouTube channel. We appreciate it. And today we're giving you the first half of our start sit questions for Sunday and Monday games for this Week 11. Definitely check out our top starts, streamers, and fades episodes from yesterday by clicking the link in the corner where Kyle's pointing or in the description below. We changed it up just a little bit this week, so let us know how you like it or don't like it. Give us some feedback, guys. What do you got before we get started?
Hey, you know what? We've been bringing the content all season, 5 episodes a week. We're going to get you there through the championship. We're even going to go through week 17, at least with 5 episodes a week, even though you shouldn't be going through week 17, right? Your league should end in week 16 when you win your championship. So make sure that you click subscribe and the bell so that you're notified every time that we upload this podcast so that you don't miss any help. So on to week 11, make sure that you run and check your waiver wire. Things are always happening on the waiver wire, and you want to keep an eye on who's getting dropped because people have to make moves. Maybe somebody dropped somebody like Giovanni Bernard recently, and it's looking unlikely for Mixon to play this week. So make sure that you go out and find guys like that and make that happen. And if you have any questions for us, we're always asking. So feel free to drop us a line down in the comments or on Twitter. We'll help you out as best we can. We've given everybody about as much information as you can on how to figure out what that is. I don't think that we.
I know
that drop
it gets me every time too. Come on.
Yeah, it does. It does. You just laugh like a little giddy schoolgirl. All right, guys, let's dive in head first into the shallow end here and get going on these starts and sits. The first one that we've got is Cincinnati at Washington. This is high caliber matchup going right?
Oh yeah. This is a ratings draw right here.
Yeah, it's going to be showing in one state and only in about 2/3 of it, I bet. I haven't pulled up the viewing map for the NFL for this week yet, but I'm sure that's what it is. Yeah, I shouldn't bother, I guess. All right, so right off the top, I'm going to go with Cincinnati here, and I'm actually saying you can start Joe Burrow, but you're really kind of hoping for high-end QB2 production at best here. So what you want to be able to do is put him into a super flex position or a QB2 league, or it's just a desperation dart throw, hoping that he gets some sort of production for you. He is capable of doing that because he does throw the ball 40 plus times a game. We just talked about the fact that Joe Mixon isn't looking like a go. So I've actually got him as a sit right now. And I'm saying fire up Gio Bernard. Just don't expect a whole lot of production out of him.
Right.
He has been getting goal line carries. He has been getting pass game work. He is kind of the lead back out there right now. So he's pretty reliable as an RB2, but I would probably lean more towards the flex territory this week where he's going to bring you value. Tyler Boyd, just fire him up, right? I mean, obviously him and T. Higgins. T's kind of had a little bit of a more rough go. I don't know. You've got him in our league.
He definitely had a big game last week, man.
Okay. Yeah. So he's back on the horse, back in the saddle, but at the expense of a guy who is borderline cuttable, and that is AJ Green. He's flex at best, but you should sit him if you can. Yeah. He had a big fat 0 last week, and I don't even think he got any targets either. I don't remember off the top of my head.
I think he had like a couple targets, but still got
didn't do anything with it. Yep. All right. What do you got on, what is it, Washington?
The Washington football team, which I guess they may actually keep the name, Kyle. Okay. But Alex Smith, I mean, it's a super flex or 2 QB start. I mean, he put up a lot of numbers last week, and against the Bengals, maybe he'll do it again. But when it comes to running backs, J.D. McKissick is definitely a PPR start only. That's the only way I would feel comfortable is if you're in a PPR league. Antonio Gibson, I do feel confident starting him as a running back too for the rest of the season. He's getting a lot of goal line work. Maybe not a whole lot of touches that we would like to see, but he's getting a lot of work still. Terry McLaurin, he's the number 1 pass catcher in the offense. And this offense has had a bit of an uptick with Alex Smith, at least the last game. So I would still feel confident in starting him in one of the wide receiver spots. And Logan Thomas, he made our episode yesterday, our streamer. I think was your streamer of the week or our streamer of the week.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel confident in starting him. He's going to hang around that line of scrimmage, and Alex Smith, we all know, can't throw it that far. So I think Logan Thomas is a pretty good start for you at tight end.
Yeah, he doesn't have as strong of a throwing base anymore.
Oh, man, dang.
Yeah, is it too soon? Too soon?
Yeah.
Hey, man, he's back out on the field. It's all
true.
fair game. It's all fair game.
All right. Up next, we have the Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints. Yeah, it's like these people are going to watch this and it's really going to hurt us or anything like that when it comes to Alex Smith's people.
I'm totally going to get an angry letter from Alex Smith because you know that he writes letters. He is as geriatric as I am. So.
You are old. Alrighty. So Atlanta Falcons, why don't you go ahead and hit
I think he's your age though, man. It's pretty close there. All right. So with Atlanta, I'm going to start Matt Ryan. I think he's fine to go, but you got to sit Todd Gurley, guys. You got to sit him this week. It is the best defense against the running back in fantasy points allowed this year. So sit Todd Gurley. I just don't think it's one that you want to get. Best you could do is probably like a flex spot. Maybe that's what you've got him in. I don't know. Maybe you've made some moves along the way this year and you're able to put him in your flex. And so I say, okay, that's fine, but be very, very wary of this matchup. Julio Jones, you got to fire him up, right?
Oh yeah.
Calvin Ridley has been limited in practice this week, so you got to keep an eye on what's going on with him. If he is healthy, you can still start him. You've paid up for him, so you might as well. Russell Gage, if Ridley's out, you can start him. And then Hayden Hurst is a definite start. He's going against the 6th most fantasy points allowed to the tight end this year. So that's an advantageous situation. He's actually been reliable. We talked about this yesterday, that he's actually my tight end start of the week. And the reason that he is because he's got a great floor and he's got an upside matchup. So you're hopeful that he's able to turn it into a touchdown this week. So that's where I'm at on them. What do you have on the Saints?
All right, Jameis Winston. We kind of mentioned this yesterday as well. This is a pretty good streaming matchup. The thing you want to look out for is good old Taysom Hill vulturing a touchdown, because we know it's going to happen. You're just going to hope that Jameis does throw a couple more on his own that will make it worth your while against this defense.
The benefit you get with Jameis is that they're all going to be for 60+ yards.
And that's one thing. You know what? I'll skip over to wide receiver, and that's Michael Thomas is a definite start for me because, Jameis can actually get it to the numbers at least. Drew has not been able to do that. And when Michael Thomas has come back, you haven't really seen the regular Michael Thomas, and I don't think it's all based on him. It's just based on who was the quarterback. Yeah. So I would look for a nice little uptick in production for Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara, start your studs. Just keep an eye on practice. He missed Thursday's practice, so definitely keep an eye on Fridays. It's kind of a new thing, I believe. So just a little something to keep an eye on.
Yeah. I do know that the league went full on what is it? Their high alert setting or whatever it is, where they have the most stringent COVID protocols other than shutdown for every single team for the rest of the season, which requires daily testing and all kinds of other things. So a lot of what they're doing is virtual. And so what I have seen is in some instances in which they're listing somebody as limited or full participant, it's actually a projection, not actually what has occurred, but a projection saying that they're projected to have missed practice today, saying they wouldn't have been able to go, but we didn't really have a physical practice. So
this last thing I have here, Jared Cook. I don't know. You and we've been off the Jared Cook bandwagon. I'm curious to see what that would look like with Jameis Winston. I don't know if it's going to change or not, but if you're really desperate and you have nothing else at tight end, I guess you could try it out and see how it feels.
Yeah.
Let's all right. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Jacksonville Jags. Kyle.
Yep. All right. So this is going to be a startable game, right, for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
There's
here.
A lot of green on this one.
There's a lot of green on this one. Let's start Roethlisberger. Fire him up. Great matchup. Start up James Conner. That's a get right game there for you. He's had several down games. If you've had him, you know this.
Yes.
I'm going to start Juju, Deontay, and Chase. Those are all good. And then start Eric Ebron. This is a great chance for points for him, but here's my concern, and this is the same concern I had with the Packers last week going against Jacksonville, right? And this is that there's too many pathways to beat this team. Pick one And that's the one that might do really, really well.
Yeah.
But it might also do really badly just because the rest of the team is doing so well. Like Jacksonville is trying to compete with the Jets for the, tank for Trev here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have it's your best guess, right? If you're at the wide receiver, you're looking at it and you're going, well, I got a 1-in-3 shot. But if you're at tight end, you're like, well, it's the only tight end, so I might as well start him. But then he's still part of the passing game. It's tough. Like, I don't know. At some point, somebody's going to miss out. They're just like, there's not enough targets ultimately to go around. There's not enough opportunities.
Exactly.
Because when you score in 4 plays, there were only 4 plays, like that's the way it kind of works.
Well, those are numbers work. Huh, interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm insinuating that it only takes 4 plays to go 75 yards on Jacksonville. In case
I got it.
Don't be that guy.
Should we write that down, Kyle?
Yeah.
Write that down.
All right. Well, this is going to be a quick one for the Jags here.
Sure.
James Robinson, go ahead and start him up, even against this matchup. Well, the reason why is if you didn't think James Robinson was a workhorse back, he's going to be even more of a workhorse back because Chris Thompson just went on IR with a back issue. So
that would explain all the Dare Ogunbowale sightings that I had last week and why he was getting so much more of the pass game work.
Yeah. But and then also, this is a dart throw, man. DJ Chark. This is a super tough matchup. He is the number 1 on this team. If you have better options, definitely try somebody else out. But you might get a low-end wide receiver 3 out of this one. And that's really all I got on that one, Kyle,
it's
for
tough.
the Jags. Would anything different that you would do here for this one?
I've got James Robinson in our league, and I'm actually debating and bouncing back and forth between Damian Harris and James Robinson this week. It is a really hyper tough matchup, but I do like James Robinson's tough running style. But Damian Harris, I'm about to talk about him in this next matchup. He's got a really good situation going.
Real quick,
his
Kyle,
upside is limited because he doesn't get any rushing TDs, it seems.
Usually we ask if anybody has questions, but if you were to start, who would you start, James Robinson or Damian Harris? Go ahead and throw your comment down below.
Sure.
See what you think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm interested to see what everybody else thinks on that one. It is a tough one. So speaking of that, let's go on to our next matchup, and that is New England versus Houston. Actually, this is New England at Houston. I'll take New England off the top, tell you what I think here. So Cam Newton is a start, and here is why. This is an upside situation for his particular skill set and the manner in which he has been scoring for you in this season. And that is that this is a really phenomenally bad run defense. They allow the 2nd most fantasy points to the running back position this year. So guess what Cam Newton's been doing? He's been running the ball a lot, right? And he's been doing this at the same clip that he had when he was at his height. He's just not passing as much because the passing game is terrible in New England. Absolutely terrible. So I'm not starting anybody else in this situation except for Damian Harris and Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers has been really solid lately.
Yes.
He gets open. Cam throws the ball to him. Damian Harris, again, 2nd most fantasy points allowed to the running back position this year. So you can't ignore that. It's a great matchup for a guy who's putting up solid numbers in recent weeks. And you're hoping that he just finds the end zone finally on this. And this is the kind of week that he would find the end zone. You would hope that they would give him the ball inside of the 10-yard line. And that's very, very possible to get in from the 10-yard line. But the guy's been putting up roughly 100-yard games the last 3 weeks. So it's not something you can ignore. I mean, he went over 120 last week.
I mean, he could get you a couple touchdowns, or Cam will just vulture 3.
Yeah, but the thing is that you still have that floor of probably
some good yards.
Probably getting 100 yards plus, right? And
Yep.
you're hoping that he just catches one and goes into the end zone because it's a 20-yard, run, 20-yard run or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what you're hoping for. Because they just keep at some point, some team is going to have to go, the option's really not getting handed off inside of the 5-yard line. Like, you keep doing it, but you never let go of the ball, Cam.
Right.
So we're just going to go after Cam.
Yeah.
Eventually they have to do. Some team has to pull the trigger on that. But that's it. That's the conundrum I have. That's the reason I have this problem is I've got James Robinson, who is, top 3 running back basically on the season in most situations, most leagues. And then you've got Damian Harris, who's been solid over the last 3 weeks, going against an absolutely wonderful matchup for them. So it's like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. So it is a difficult question. Who do you have on Houston? What do you have?
Deshaun Watson is a start. Looking for a bounce back game. I believe they played Cleveland Browns last week, and that was gale force win. So, they're playing at home in a dome, so that should be better atmosphere. Better conditions on the field. Duke Johnson, he's a running back too. With David Johnson still out, he's on IR, so his upside's very limited, and everybody's I think known that for a long time. But up next for wide receivers, Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller, they're starts, man. Ever since Bill O'Brien got fired, I think it's since like week 5, both of them had been wide receiver 2. They're actually, I looked this up before we started here, 0.4 points difference between the two of them since Billy O'Brien got fired.
That would tell me that Cooks is the better play of the two at this point.
It possibly is. Well, I did week 5 from now because Will Fuller was much better in those first few weeks.
That's my point, is that since week 5, Cooks is actually the better of the two options because he's obviously had higher level points more consistently across those shorter span of time for them to have the same amount of points.
But you're not going to sit either one of them, so you're still looking pretty good.
Yeah,
absolutely. So that's all I got. I don't want to mess with the tight ends. We've done it before and it just hasn't worked out for.
No, it's not an offense you want to do that with.
No.
All right, so let's move on here. Yeah, wait, actually, we got that.
Don't be that guy.
Don't mess with the tight ends there. All right, so Philadelphia at Cleveland. Here we go. Philadelphia, guess what? Start Carson Wentz. This is a decent upside matchup for a QB who has been struggling. So if he's ever going to get it right, this is the game to get right at. Miles Sanders, this is not a great matchup, but he can get it done in the passing game, which is where the advantage actually exists for Philadelphia. I want to say that maybe Cleveland, or I don't remember who it was, threw down 6 sacks against Philadelphia the first time they faced each other. So maybe it wasn't Cleveland, but it was somebody else. So Philadelphia's got some real problems along its line, and they've had those for a while. So that's why Miles Sanders is better in the pass game and not as great in the running game this week, because they just aren't going to be able to run very well. All right. So the wide receivers, this is where the questions start popping up, because one, it's bad. It's just a bad passing game in general. It's not working right now. And so figuring out which options are the best is difficult. We'll toss into that you're looking at basically no names at this point in their careers who are the guys on this offense. And that is Travis Fulgham and Jalen Reagor. Now, Reagor's got a lot of upside because of his draft pedigree and his history and his dominator, rating or whatever. His breakout age was like 19, I think. So he has a clear pedigree. Fulgham is out of nowhere, so he doesn't have that pedigree. And so here's where it breaks down for me. I lean more towards Reagor. So if you have these two, which I doubt that you do, I lean more towards Reagor. And that is because I see that he's got an upside play this week, and that this is the defense that surrenders the 5th most fantasy points to wide receiver, and he is taking targets away from Fulgham. It is becoming clear that is what's happening. And so I think you're going to just continue to see that eventually Fulgham, the target level that he used to have, is the targeting level that Reagor has, as long as Reagor can stay healthy. He's obviously had problems with that so far this year. So that's really the way I lean. I still think both of them are starts this week. Don't get me wrong. I just think that Reagor is 1A and Travis Fulgham is 1B. Dallas Goedert, it's a mediocre opportunity, but that's about the best you can hope for in 2020 tight end land
really
here.
Is,
so you're just hoping for that upside of maybe he catches a touchdown in the in the red zone or something, and that's about the best you can hope for a tight end this year. It's really one of those concession type of positions where you're just conceding what may or may not happen. So where we're at on Philly. What do you got on Cleveland?
For Cleveland, before I get started, I wanted to hop in there, but I didn't want to interrupt you. But this is another game that could look at some weather issues. This is at Cleveland again, so definitely temper your expectations if you're starting any of these guys. But it doesn't look as bad as last week, but it's still Cleveland. So, but for Cleveland,
generally looks bad.
I mean,
it's Cleveland.
With all due respect to Cleveland, yeah. But so running backs, I'm hopping.
It's okay. I said with all due respect.
I can say whatever the heck I want, Kyle.
Yeah.
Skipping right over the quarterback position, I'm going to go right to the running backs for Cleveland. I'm good with starting both of these guys. Nick
I think
Chubb,
you can
Kareem
still
Hunt.
put no. Okay, I just want to say you could put Baker out there in super flex and two QB.
Okay.
You have to.
You have to.
You have to.
Yeah.
So, but that's where I'm at. Just because he might throw a touchdown to Chubb or Hunt.
Exactly, because
Yeah.
he's not going to throw it to anybody else from what I can tell.
No.
So I do feel confident in starting both of them as running back ones or twos, truthfully. But when it comes to wide receivers, Jarvis Landry is a flex at best. I mean, he's super disappointing. And I really question if he's fully recovered from the hip injury. I looked it up as well. He's the 59th best wide receiver this year.
Everybody's waiting for that perfect breakout because he's got such a great opportunity repeatedly and he keeps not doing it.
Yep. This is another guy that we're hoping for a breakout because there's opportunity is Austin Hooper.
Yep.
I mean, the passes have to go somewhere. They really do. So if it's not Jarvis, if it's not Rashard Higgins, because I don't feel confident in that, maybe Austin Hooper is the guy. And once again, tight end wasteland, you can start him and you're just hoping.
Yeah.
You're just really hoping.
All right. So I'm gonna disagree with you on one.
Okay.
And that is Rashard Higgins. I think Rashard Higgins is actually a startable player this week.
All right. I mean,
Yeah.
I know. I've lost.
I made my point
a
a couple weeks ago about how I think that the weather is really what has made him look like a bad player since he had that awesome game like 3 weeks ago.
We're still gonna have possible issues with weather.
Yeah.
So it's like, is this the one that you really want to try again?
I don't know. I mean, if it's not 50-mile-an-hour winds where they can kick further than 15 yards without it going directly sideways.
I mean, it's too early to tell, but it did say 15 to 20 with possible rain and with a high of like 46.
Football weather.
Exactly. Sounds good. I'll have that.
So Cleveland in the spring, right?
We're just poo-pooing on Cleveland.
Yeah,
like everybody else does.
Hey,
just like their uniform does too, man.
Okay. You know what? My favorite brewery is located in Cleveland. So I'm going to give them that. Great Lakes Brewery is absolutely phenomenal. # not a sponsor, but if you want to sponsor us, feel free to do so. Great Lakes, my favorite beer from there.
Going for them.
One thing, that, and I mean, Burning River is my absolute favorite beer. So yeah.
Sounds
All
good.
right, guys. So let's move on here. We've got Detroit at Carolina, and Detroit, I'll take them. Matthew Stafford, go ahead and fire him up. Temper expectations. He's just not been great this year. I think that has a lot more to do with our friend.
Yeah.
He's banged up. He's beaten up, but I think it's our friend Matt Patricia. I think that's why, because he's one of those guys who is
The worst.
Oh yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah. So let's look down the list here. Here's part of why I actually lean towards Matthew Stafford. DeAndre Swift, guys. Guess what? Wonderful opportunity. Amazing opportunity. Fourth most points allowed to the running back position this season. That's what Carolina looks like right now on defense. And so everybody on Twitter is calling for this is the week that DeAndre Swift breaks out. This is it. This is it. He got a concussion in practice. Yeah. So he entered the concussion protocol. And they're saying, well, he might be able to make it out. What are you talking about? 4 days is optimistic in any situation. Name one guy this season who got a concussion on Sunday and started on a Thursday night football game. Name one guy who managed to do that. And then I will say, okay, maybe Swift can start. Here's another thing. He had a evening interview with reporters on Wednesday night. So nobody knows when this happened. They haven't disclosed when it happened. But what we do know is that he wasn't exhibiting symptoms on Wednesday night. So it had to have occurred on Thursday. And that was the first instance in which he actually missed any practice at all, was on Thursday. So now you've got an injury on Thursday that's a minimum 4-day clearance in the protocol. How does he get to a Sunday game? He doesn't.
Carry
So,
the two.
carry the two. I don't. Yeah. So I'm actually saying he's probably going to have to be a sit. Keep your eyes open, your ear to the ground, because it's going to be an Adrian Peterson week, and none of us want to go for that. Yeah. Oh, I texted you. I don't know if you did anything about it. I know that my brother probably did. I texted other people and they're like, send me the link. And so here's what it is. Okay. This just popped in my head because I was like, oh yeah, players in the North where you're just like the NFC North, right? And it's just the whole Vikings team. Apparently their trade deal with Jacksonville that involved Yannick Ngakoue, even though he's not on their team anymore and he's not on Jacksonville, he's on Baltimore. If he goes to the Pro Bowl, the pick that the Vikings have to give up is better.
It's like a third round instead of a fourth.
It jumps to like a third from a fourth. And so somebody is marshaling all the resources of the North, NFC North and Jacksonville Jaguars, like internet, just
fan base
and just marshaling all those resources toward voting for him. I know I voted for him at least 100 times today. So because I'm kind of like that because it's the Vikings. But yeah, I just think to myself, oh, that's wonderful. The way that a fan can actually affect the other team.
That's good.
Actually affect them.
Yeah.
All right. So Kenny Golladay looking like he's probably not going to be back this week, guys. If you read between the lines on what's playing out right now, Galladay's probably out. Marvin Jones has actually been better without Golladay lately. The first go around, he was not. He was not good, but he has been better lately. He's been finding the end zone lately as well. He's getting that rapport back with Matthew Stafford. Apparently, it looks as though Matt Patricia is no longer involved with coaching this team. That's seems a good thing. Because I mean, isn't that kind of what it's going to take to get this thing to turn around? I don't know. I actually had a note here that said, there's something wrong with this offense, and it's 2 letters long. Those letters are H and C. Head coach.
Oh,
yeah. Quintez Cephas is an absolute dart throw if Kenny Golladay is out, and then T.J. Hawkinson, not a terrible option this week. It's not terrible. It's not great.
Right.
Hawkinson's been pretty good. So
Hawkinson.
I think if you have him, you're starting him anyway. So.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
You just have to.
And so, yeah, there we go. That's what I got.
Right.
What do you got on Carolina?
Looks like Teddy Bridgewater is going to be out for this game, and it's not one that I feel confident in starting his backup, PJ Walker, even though he's of the XFL fame. But so when it comes to running backs, though, CMC is out. They already ruled him out. Mike Davis, come on down. You can fire him up as a running back too. You're getting a guy that's getting back on track because he's had a couple rough games. He had a few good ones right after CMC went down. But I was looking at the matchups that he's faced since CMC has been out, and those have been some really tough matchups. This is a little bit more favorable matchup for running backs. So
yeah,
I'm hoping to get some running back too, personally, because I have him on my team. So hopefully get a little something.
Yep.
But when it comes to wide receivers, man, you just don't know what you're getting in a PJ Walker. It's a dart throw, really. DJ Moore has better pedigree than Robbie Anderson. So that would probably be the only one just based off talent that I would start. But all my notes say on here is, I'm wanting to avoid all the wide receivers if possible. I mean, Robbie Anderson started off the season really hot when it comes to receiving yards and has done very, very little the last 5 games. So
yeah.
That's all I got.
I guess it must mean that Adam Gase is calling the plays for Carolina from the phone because that's what he does.
You would really want to start as many people as possible in this game going against the Detroit Lions, but you just really can't based off what Carolina is pumping out there right now, sadly.
Yeah.
Just based off injuries, man.
Yep.
But up next, we have the Tennessee Titans against the Baltimore Ravens. Titans, what you got, Kyle?
This one will be fast. You can start Derrick Henry.
Oh.
Yep. But don't expect a whole lot. So the reason for this is that it appears that one offensive lineman was the whole linchpin for this offense. Just the whole linchpin. He's the keystone. He's the guy. And that was Taylor Lewan. And yeah, I mean, about the best you got's Derrick Henry, but that's because he's bigger than most everybody on the field. He can just truck dudes repeatedly. And so he'll get you some yards, but it's Baltimore.
Taylor Lewan.
yeah. He might be bigger. I don't know. Taylor Lewan is not actually an enormous man. He is just, probably more skilled than anything. AJ Brown, I'm fading in this matchup. We talked about him in yesterday's
Yeah, he
episode
made her
that he's
fade,
actually
yeah.
a fade. And Jonnu Smith, he's kind of been non-existent since Luan went down. So yeah, that's where you're at. I mean, the only thing you can hope for is that he's going to get a touchdown. If you look at what his numbers have been the last few weeks, you would be confused by what I'm saying if you just looked at his fantasy point production. But if you look at the numbers that are underlying what's occurring, it's like he had a touchdown last week that wasn't a receiving touchdown, actually. I think it was last week, might have been the week before. And in another instance, he had a touchdown, but he's doing this on like just under 30 yards a game.
Yeah.
That is not sustainable. That is not a situation that you can really rely on. And it's really not going to be beneficial against a team like Baltimore that's not going to get allow them within 30 yards of the end zone.
Yeah.
So that he can get those touchdowns, right? So this is a bad situation, and I'm fading it. Derrick Henry, you can start him. You got to start him. You've paid for him, right?
Yeah.
So you might as well fire him up and hope for the best.
Yep.
All right.
I don't have too much for Baltimore either, man. Either. I swear I haven't been drinking.
Eever.
Yeah. Forever.
Yeah. You can't
Lamar
even talk
Jackson,
good.
I'm gonna start him. Titans have given up the second most passing touchdowns this year, but the Ravens have seen a huge regression in the passing offense this year. So Lamar, he still has a decent rushing floor. You're just hoping maybe this is the breakout game, but I just don't think it really aligns up to it. But when it comes to running backs, man, Mark Ingram is back, which is But what that does is it just causes less.
It just clouds it.
It just clouds everything. J.K. Dobbins isn't going to get touches. Gus Edwards isn't going to get touches. So it's like, who do you go with? You go with nobody in the running back room in this offense. Marquise Hollywood Brown, bust, move on, drop him, nothing. Mark Andrews, you're going to start him because you have to. Nick Boyle was placed on IR just this last week, so maybe his snap percentage does increase for Mark Andrews, and you're hoping for some more targets and a Mark Andrews of last year. So we shall see if that's what we get this week. But yeah, I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot of offense in this game, Kyle.
Yeah, I don't think there will be.
No,
hardly much of any at all.
Nope.
Yeah, the old golf game is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, guys, that's going to do it for our first episode of Matchup Breakdowns. And so make sure that you get all of your start sit questions to us. And make sure that you also hit that subscribe button as well as the bell so you're notified every time that we upload this podcast. You'll get tomorrow's episode as well, which is going to be the second half of our start sit questions for the week. And so, hey, see you next time. Thanks for being fans of the upside. Bye.
See ya.